Hey, I'm here with Chibi to do a little bit of yoga. Maybe you want to join us. You want to start in tabletop? Okay. Start in tabletop on hands and knees with your hands pretty much under your shoulders, knees under your hips. And from here, stretch your hips back a little bit, just to the degree that they want to go down towards your heels. It doesn't have to go all the way. And then lift back up. And this time when you stretch back, aim to kind of press back through your right hip. So you're going to be at sort of a diagonal here. And then come back up and do the same thing on the other side. So your left hip goes back towards the left. And then come back up to tabletop. And from here, stretch your right leg back with your toes on the ground. Stabilize through your core so that you're not dropping your back down or arching it up, but keeping it pretty neutral. And then float your right leg up behind you. So you're kind of a straight line from your head back towards your heel. And from here you could stay there, or you might consider lifting your left arm up to any degree. Or Vyagrasana, tiger pose. And notice as you're here, what keeps you stable will very likely be keeping your core engaged. Make sure you're breathing here. And then as you're ready, you can bring your arm and knee down if they're both up. And we'll try that on the other side. So bring your left foot back with your toes on the ground and slowly float that leg up. And again, you might stay right here, or maybe you lift your right arm up to any degree. Think about pressing back through your left heel. And then you can bring your hand down if it's up, and bring your knee down. You might stretch your hips back again, maybe to the middle, maybe once to each side. And then come back up. And from here, walk your hands forward just a little bit. Curl your toes under and send your hips up and back into downward dog. So your legs are heading towards straight, but your knees can be bent. Your heels are heading towards the ground, but they may not reach the ground. You might try pedaling your feet a couple of times, so bending through each knee. And then lower your knees back to the ground. Walk your hands back and come up into a tall kneeling position. And once you're in your tall kneeling position, adjust anything that needs adjusting. And then bring all your weight into your left leg. And from here, hover your right knee, or see if it's possible to hover your right knee. Your arms might be flapping around a lot. You might be placing that knee back down. But once you've given that a shot, step your right foot forward. So you're in a low lunge here with your left knee down and your right foot out in front of you. From here, notice if balance is a challenge, and if it is, you can scoot your right foot out towards the side, maybe your left knee out towards the other side to widen your stance laterally. And then press down through your front foot and think about isometrically pulling it towards your body. So it won't move, but it may create some stability. You can do the same thing with your back knee. So pressing it down, drawing your legs together energetically, isometrically. And then maybe what you do is you float your arms up into either cactus arms, so like goalposts, or you stretch them all the way up. So as you're here in this low lunge or Anjaneyasana, you might take a couple of really deep breaths. Notice what needs to engage. And see if there's anywhere you can relax. When you're ready, you can bring your hands down either to the floor, or if you have blocks, you can bring your hands down to your blocks. And from here, send your hips back and straighten through your front leg, aiming to keep your hips pretty straight and squared with your mat. You might feel a stretch through your hamstring here. Then bend through your leg and come back into your low lunge and step that leg back. Come back to a tall kneeling position. Maybe scoot your blocks out of the way if you're using blocks. And try the same thing on the other side. So bring all of your weight into your right leg and see if it's possible to hover your left knee in space. Maybe flapping your arms around quite a bit, maybe not, just depending on what your balance feels like today. And as you're ready, you can step your left foot forward and come into a low lunge on the second side, Anjaneyasana. So think about engaging through your legs, squeezing them towards each other even though they won't move. Maybe bring your arms into cactus arms, maybe stretch them up, whatever feels right. And again, if you're finding balance a challenge here, you might scooch your legs out towards the edges, the lateral edges of your mat for a more stable base. When you're ready, bring your hands down either to your mat or to your blocks, and then straighten through your front leg as much as possible without forcing anything. See if you can find a stretch through the back of that leg, through your hamstrings. See if you can breathe pretty freely. If possible, breathing through your nose, taking long, slow breaths. When you're ready, you can bend through that leg again, maybe scoot your blocks out of the way, and come back into your tall kneeling position. From here, bring your hands back down to the floor. Find your tabletop position. Stretch your right leg back with your toes on the ground, and then bring that leg over towards the left. And then maybe turn your head and take a peek over your left shoulder so that maybe you feel a stretch through your side here. Come back to center and try that on the other side. So bring your left leg back, toes on the ground. Bring that leg over towards the right and maybe peek over your right shoulder. Again, looking for a stretch through your outer side body, this time on the left. And come back to center. And if you have a block, maybe place it down on the ground in front of you. Send your hips back towards your heels to the extent that that feels comfortable, and bring your forehead down onto your block for child's pose. And if child's pose is not comfortable for you, which it's not for many people, you might flip over onto your back for just a few minutes in constructive rest posture. With your feet on the floor, knees up towards the sky, hands resting wherever you like. And just take a couple of minutes to rest.